Hello and welcome to this video where we're going to be talking about development of youth through sports and leisure and why sports and leisure are so important and powerful tools for helping youth grow and mature and develop. Stay tuned as we delve into that subject. Well, we definitely want to be talking about what sports and leisure can do for leadership. We also want to be beginning to talk about how money has begun to factor into that and what parents have to spend. And we want to talk too about what science has shown about the value of play and how important that is. And then last, how to rebuild some of these programs that have been disappearing in our communities. So that and more is what we'll be covering in this video. First, let me repeat some of the data that I put out in some of the other videos, and that is sports. People who participate in sports through high school are the leaders. They are the business leaders, the executives in Fortune 500 companies. They are the senators and the congressmen and the entrepreneurs. They are the people taking on leadership roles in communities. When you look at those leaders in any area, you're going to find a high percentage of them were involved in youth sports, and usually right up through high school. So that's first, right? It helps teach leadership. But let's go beyond just sports, right? The other thing you could find is that not just involved in high school sports, but the number of people who went to like summer camps, all kinds of different summer camp experiences that people went through. And these camps, time and time again, are character-based, leadership-based, trying to teach some of these skills in outdoor settings, not typical classroom kind of in school. They're getting them outdoors, right? And all kinds of different experiences that way. These have been time-honored traditions for generations, and we're losing some of them, right? From the local sports programs to the number of summer camps that have been having to close, and some who are struggling to stay open. These institutions, what they were, had powerful benefits for generations, and we're beginning to lose touch with them. So one of the challenges that we are facing is the rising cost. So especially in youth sports. And those costs have risen dramatically, in large part because of the explosion of these travel teams and the fees that you have to pay to get into tournaments. Therefore, to join a team, you pay more because the team pays for all these tournament fees and all. And we're talking about just being on a team, right, with the basics. Playing in all these tournaments, practice time, coaches usually make a little bit of money, uniforms, those sort of things, insurance, that type of stuff. It doesn't include the travel costs, the extra meals, hotels, even airplane travel in many instances, the long drives, all of those things. Doesn't even factor that in. Same could be said for summer camps, as rising costs and all kinds of things. It's a struggle, right? Is how do you maintain this? How do you get the workers, right? That's sometimes an overlooked thing. It used to be where they relied so heavily on college kids, and they didn't pay them much, right? The kids would live there at these residential camps and work, and there was a great experience for the college kids. And often the college kids had been campers at these camps. That's one of the things they relied on. But fewer and fewer college kids want to do that or are willing to do that. And that's put on a huge burden on some of these summer camps, right? And so trying to entice people to work there and add more programming and all this drives up the cost. And as the costs go up, you begin to price certain populations out, and that's become a challenge for many families. One of the things we've talked about in a number of these other videos is the benefits from your well-being, emotional well-being, physical well-being on being active, right? Getting out there and the exercise and being part of teams and being involved in sports. And the same could be said about these summer camps and these programs. And, a lot of towns have these community programs that can be really good and beneficial and trying to get kids involved. One of the challenges here is over organizing. And this idea of free play is something we've lost. And in context, we're usually talking about some of the neighborhood free play, not just these programs, right? But even these programs can overschedule a kid's day and not give them enough time just to, like, let's just play, and the supervisors are just kind of watching them, right? Just there in the background. And it's in these moments of free play where kids learn oftentimes how to negotiate their own little conflicts, these own little resolutions. It's amazing that to watch this happen at times. And sure, sometimes young kids don't handle it well. Absolutely. I've been involved in those. I can remember a young kid, but I can also remember many times where other kids then will help, like, solve this conflict. Like if I get a conflict with another kid over that was a fall, no, it was blah blah blah. The other kids will sometimes step in, right? I've seen it happen over and over. That you can begin to learn how to navigate that well through free play. It's a powerful thing in science. There's a lot of research. Jonathan Haidt's one who's put this in some of his books about research from other people, not just his own, on the power of free play. So in these programming, if you want to think about, also want to look at that aspect of it and how much are they people actually planning out every moment of a kid's life. All right, so once again, this idea of bringing balance back to this, and I'm repeating this in a number of videos because it keeps coming up based on the questions. But the idea, again, is through local rec programs, league programs, sports programs, and you want some of these like leagues, youth leagues, where they're playing games, they're experiencing competition. They are out there, whether it's police athletic league, soccer programs or basketball programs or baseball programs or a combination. Morning you're doing soccer or afternoon you're doing baseball or things like that. Getting involved in multiple sports, right? So we have a league of where baseball and it goes for a couple months, and then we do soccer, and getting them involved in different sports, local, playing amongst other neighborhoods even, right? The younger, probably more neighborhood oriented. You get a little bit older, maybe you shrink those neighborhoods. Maybe you go a couple of the neighboring towns around you, and all right, this town has 2 teams, this town has 2, we've got 4, and you have a little league amongst all of them. This sort of youth programming is really important, and that's how you're going to begin to bring balance back. Again, we've been talking a whole lot about sports, but this question also alluded to leisure. So outdoor camps, right? Leadership things that involve things like the ropes courses and the hiking and the nature experiences, and maybe getting them out on the water if you live near water. It's boating and canoeing, things where they can experience different activities out in nature that they haven't maybe experienced before. This is where scouting used to be such a huge thing. And we could talk a whole lot about the demise of scouting, but the idea behind the whole reason it was first brought out about teaching leadership, getting young boys and young girls for Girl Scouts out in nature. And that's another whole thing we want to talk about is co-ed versus boys versus girls, right? Girls have their thing, boys have theirs. Sometimes maybe it is co-ed, but there's lots of good things about having just boys doing some boy things and girls doing girl things. And that used to be the norm. And sadly, some people begin to think there's something wrong with that. It's time to rethink some of those newer concepts that have been uh, impacting it negatively, youth sports and leisure programming for kids, and all the positives that come with that. Well, that just wraps up another video. And as always, I'm encouraging you to subscribe to my channel. We've got changes coming there, like new videos all the time. Some new style videos will be coming shortly. So all that's good stuff. But you also might be interested in the particular video, how has youth sports changed over the years? So check that video out and come back and see us again.